My wife screamed, "Stop tracking me," when I asked about her location. It wasn't even a fight at first. It was me standing in our kitchen with the fridge door open, holding the milk like I'd forgotten what it was for, staring at that little gray last updated 3 hours ago line in the family location app. The air smelled like dish soap and the lemon cleaner she'd used earlier. Our dog was circling my ankles, nails ticking on the tile because it was dinner time and he thought the universe revolved around kibble. I heard the front door open, the soft thud of her shoes, and then her voice, bright in that practiced way people sound when they're trying to act normal. "Hey." I didn't turn around fast enough. I should have swallowed it. I should have said nothing. But my mouth moved before my brain could put its hand over it. "Where were you?" I asked, and it came out too flat, like I was reading from a script I didn't want to be in. She paused behind me. I felt the pause the way you feel a shadow pass over you in sunlight. I closed the fridge slowly. Your location, it wasn't showing. The change in her was instant, like someone had flicked a switch behind her eyes. "Oh my God," she snapped, and I finally turned. She was still holding her tote bag, shoulder strap twisted around her fist like she was winding herself up. Her cheeks were flushed, not from heat. Sydney wasn't even hot that day, but from something sharp and internal. "Stop tracking me." "I'm not tracking you," I said, and my voice cracked on the last word because I was already scrambling to make it less ugly than it sounded. It's the family thing. We both. Stop tracking me." She said each word like she was putting nails into a table. Her eyes were wet, but not soft. More like defensive wet, like a dog that's been cornered. "You're being creepy. You're being controlling." The dog stopped circling and sat down like he could feel the tension. Somewhere in the living room, the TV was still playing, low volume, some cooking show where a woman was laughing about butter. I stood there with my hands half raised, palms open, like I was surrendering to a crime I didn't understand. I asked because I got worried. I said, "Your phone, your location doesn't update sometimes. I thought maybe it died, or you thought I was lying." She cut in, and her voice went higher. "You thought I was out doing something. Admit it." I took a breath that tasted like detergent. "I didn't say that. I just asked where you were." "And that's exactly what someone says when they're tracking their wife," she said, and she threw her tote bag down so hard it bounced. God, I can't live like this. It was the way she said live like this, like I was the thing making her life unlivable, that made my stomach sink. Because for a second, I saw it from her angle. Not the truth. Her version of the story she was trying to build. Me as the suspicious guy. Me as the controlling husband. Me as the reason she was stressed. It felt like the room got smaller. That was the moment I knew something had shifted way before this kitchen conversation. Because normal people don't react like that to a simple question. And my wife, Olivia, was usually the calm one. The one who teased me when I double-checked locks. The one who laughed when I made spreadsheets for groceries. If I asked her where she'd been 6 months ago, she would have rolled her eyes and said, "Work, Chris. I'm not a spy." And then she would have kissed me and stolen a chip off my plate like we were fine. But that day she looked at me like I'd reached into her bag and pulled out a weapon. It was a Tuesday night when she told me she needed space. That's what she called it. Space. Like our relationship was a closet that needed reorganizing. We've been together 5 years, living together for 2. I'm Chris Pierce. I work in IT at a mid-sized company, and I'm not one of those guys who thinks everything is a sign. I like routines. I like knowing what's coming. Olivia is 29. She works in marketing, and her life comes with dinners, networking drinks, Slack messages that go off at weird hours. I used to think her job sounded exciting. Lately, it just sounded like a door that kept closing in my face. The last few months before that kitchen explosion had been off in a way I couldn't point to. Nothing that would hold up in court. Just little shifts. Her phone started living in her hand like it was a second organ. If she set it down, it was face down. If I walked into a room, she'd angle the screen away in a way that was subtle enough to deny, but obvious enough to feel. She'd come home later and talk faster. Like if she filled the air with enough words, there wouldn't be room for questions. Sometimes she'd kiss me, and it felt like a checkbox. Sometimes she'd be overly sweet, like she was handling me carefully. And then the location thing started. We'd both turned it on originally for safety. Her idea, actually. She'd said it after a story about a girl getting stranded late at night. If anything happens, I want you to know where I am. It felt intimate in a safe way, like we were a team. We used it to coordinate groceries and meetups. I'm 5 minutes away. Can you grab milk? It was normal, until it wasn't. Her location would randomly stop updating. Not all the time, just enough to make my brain notice. The first time, I didn't even mention it. The second time, she brushed it off. My phone's glitchy. The third time, she acted annoyed. The fourth time, she exploded in our kitchen and accused me of tracking her. That's what messed with me. Because if she truly believed I was controlling, why wouldn't she have said something earlier? Why wait until it happened to slip and reveal the anger? After she shouted at me, she stormed into the bedroom and shut the door hard enough to rattle the frame. I stood in the kitchen with the dog staring up at me, like I'd ruined dinner and the universe. My hands were trembling, and I didn't even know what I was shaking from. Fear, anger, confusion, shame. I kept replaying her face when she said creepy, controlling, like she'd rehearsed those words somewhere else. When she came back out, she'd changed clothes. That always bothered me, how quickly she could switch modes. She grabbed her keys and said, "I'm going to Jenna's." Jenna was her friend from college, the designated girl talk safe house. I nodded like a person who had a choice. I didn't follow her. I didn't shout. I didn't beg. I just watched the door close and felt the apartment go quiet in a way that made the walls feel farther apart. I tried to be supportive for the next few days because that's what I do. I texted once a day. Short messages. "Hope you're okay. Dog misses you." She replied with polite little bubbles of words that felt like they were written with gloves on. If I asked when she'd be back, she'd say soon. If I said I missed her, she'd heart the message and say nothing else. Then her location stopped showing completely. Not last updated, just gone, like she'd turned it off, which she had. I knew it. But I still stared at it for a long time, like staring hard would make it come back. I told myself not to spiral. I told myself I wasn't that guy. I told myself maybe she needed privacy. Maybe she was feeling smothered. Maybe my brain was doing that thing where it makes monsters out of shadows. And then she posted. Not on her main account at first. It was a tag photo from someone else. I didn't even mean to open the app. That's the part that makes me feel the most stupid. I was standing in my hallway with one shoe on, microwaved leftovers cooling on the counter, thumb flicking out of muscle memory. And there she was, sunlight, blue water, her grin loose and effortless. She looked rested. Not, I'm figuring myself out, tired. Rested like someone who'd been sleeping through the night. And next to her in the second photo was Matt from her office. He was leaning in like he belonged there. His arm was behind her back in that casual way that isn't casual when you're someone else's husband. It hit me like stepping off a curb, thinking there's 1 more inch of sidewalk. My stomach dropped before my foot even landed. I zoomed in because my brain is cruel. Her laugh lines were real. The tan on her nose was real. The angle of his hand near her hip was real. The caption was some breezy line about finally breathing again. I remember making this small, ugly sound in my throat. Half laugh, half choke. The dog barked once like he was startled by it. I scrolled like it would undo itself. Like if I stared hard enough, it would change. And the thing that made me feel the most humiliated wasn't even Matt. It was the realization that the location argument wasn't just defensiveness. It was strategy. She wasn't mad because I was controlling. She was mad because I noticed the one thing that could have proved where she actually was. When I called her, it went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. My throat burned, and I kept swallowing like that would fix it. I texted, "Are you on a trip?" And the words looked pathetic the second they left my thumbs. I added, "With Matt?" And then I just stared at the screen like I could force the 3 dots to appear. 2 hours later, she finally replied, "Can we not do this right now? I told you I needed space." Space. While she flew somewhere warm and smiled into a camera with a man she told me not to worry about. I stared at that message until my vision blurred. Then something in me went very still. Not rage, not screaming, just a quiet click like a latch closing. I typed, so the space was for him. My hands didn't shake while I wrote it, which scared me more than if they had. She didn't answer for a long time. Then, it's complicated. Complicated is the word people use when the truth is simple but ugly. I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. I don't know if I'm supposed to text her and demand the truth again. I already have. I don't know if I'm supposed to cut clean and start calling lawyers. I don't know if she's going to come home and cry and swear it was nothing, or come home angry at me for making her the villain. All I know is I can't unsee how easy she looked in those photos. How unburdened. Like I was already a story she told herself about why she deserved a fresh start. And I hate that the proof didn't come as a dramatic confession. It came as a silence in an app, a turned-off location, a scream in my kitchen that didn't match the question, a caption about breathing again, a small detail that didn't fit, cracking my whole life open. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. And if you've ever had one small thing, a post, a photo, a detail that didn't fit, crack your life open, feel free to share your story in the comments.